Hello once again, beautiful people. This is Gene Bard Busico Jr. coming to you once again with yet another, I'd say, inspired video. And I'd like to title this video, Protecting Your Peace. The reason for the title is because it was inspired by what's called meme I came across on social media. And it essentially read thusly: to protect your peace, it's okay to cancel a commitment. It's okay not to take the call. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to let go. And it's okay to say no. Now, on the surface, it seems so simple. And of course, depending on who you speak with, it could be considered just that, or a little bit more involved. Let's explore. In fact, to begin exploring, I'd like to read us the definition of what peace actually is. So here we go. Peace: freedom from disturbance, quiet, and tranquility. I'm going to read that again. The definition of peace: freedom from disturbance, quiet, and tranquility. Another definition I read also says a cessation from war. Obviously, the opposite of war would be peace. Now, why am I reading the definition? Because if you really think about it, the definition of the actual word peace ought to be taken into consideration when we're talking about protecting our peace. So let's test these statements being made supposedly surrounding protecting one's peace and see how they measure up against this good old-fashioned plain common sense. Let's read the first one. To protect your peace, it's okay to cancel a commitment. Now, that actually depends upon the kind of commitment you're talking about canceling. Okay? Very, very important, because there's so many types of commitments that we can think of. My goodness. Business commitments, personal commitments, trip commitments. You may plan to trip with, I don't know, a group of friends, but there's just a couple of friends that are within that circle that you guys know you don't get along that well. And traveling with these two particular people, they maybe seem to be, for whatever reason, maybe antagonistic or not so polite or friendly towards you. And naturally, you don't really feel that you'll be going on vacation or a trip and being at ease around these people. So to not cause too much of a stink, you call your closer friend and tell them, hey, you know what, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be going and I paid a down payment on a reservation for this cruise, but I'm not going to be able to make it, and explain the reason why. Totally understood. No harm, no foul, right? Whatever penalty or cancellation fee, it's worth it for your peace, tranquility. Some commitments are a little bit more involved than others. Now, so many of them come to mind, of course, I'm sure for many of us, but let's just maybe talk about a relational commitment. Let's say the commitment of marriage. Now, recently I created a video that was basically titled Letting Go Simplified. And of course, I went into so much detail about how if essentially you've put your best foot forward and you've demonstrated that you are willing, honest, upfront about the efforts that you are willing to put forth, and you're actually doing it, but the other party is not responsive, naturally, if they choose to walk away, then of course, rely upon the fact that you've been honest, forthcoming, and been willing. And the pattern of the other person's behavior has made it very clear that they're not willing to apply themselves in a just essentially fair and reasonable manner. So let's talk about that kind of a commitment for a moment here. So to protect your peace, it's okay to cancel a commitment. And speaking about, say, a covenant or a commitment as sacred as the marital vow that you make to the person as well as God in the front of witnesses, is it okay to just simply cancel a commitment like that to protect your peace? In fact, I submit to you, was there a commitment to begin with if when the rubber really met the road, one person was not really willing to apply themselves. And the issues that maybe arise down the road because of a lack of willingness to demonstrate a commitment and applying oneself to doing those needful things to keep that marriage going. A person canceling their commitment, i.e., maybe walking away from the relationship, perhaps the frustrations that arose in the marriage as a result of that pattern of not applying oneself, maybe led that person to, as you know, we see written here, cancel that commitment. So very difficult to understand how a person arrives at a place of tranquility, especially if they're the person who didn't apply themselves. Not sure what sense of tranquility you can derive from knowing that you actually did not apply yourself. And we're talking about, as of course my cliche that I think I'm going to coin this, take an honest look at yourself when you're by yourself and you're not in front of friends or anyone else. When you're by yourself and you're looking yourself in the mirror, if you can truly look at yourself and know that you never really wanted to apply yourself, I can't see how you can derive peace from knowing that. So there's a bit of I'll put a red flag check mark next to that one. Doesn't look like that one necessarily stands up to scrutiny. Okay, so let's go to the next one. It's okay not to take the call. I think that's fairly straightforward, simple. If you're maybe having a heated argument with anyone, goodness, I don't know, anyone from a bill collector to maybe a business partner to maybe a friend or a relative or family member, significant other, and the call takes on a negative turn and you're simply speaking very calmly and methodically to the person you're speaking with, but for whatever reason, they just go off on a tangent, start yelling, screaming, maybe using vulgar terms. Hey, I agree. It's actually maybe okay to end that conversation. And if they were to call back, just, you know what, send that bad boy to voicemail to avoid the lack of tranquility and to keep or protect the peace. Agreed. So I believe that one actually does check out. Again, guys, taking a common sense approach to these statements being made. So let's move on down the line here to our next one. It's okay to change your mind. Depending on what it is you're simply changing your mind about. And to bring that home, I mean, we'll talk about the trip and the marriage. I'll use those two as, I guess, somewhat of a litmus test to really see if that statement checks out. I mean, again, if we're talking about a trip you planned, you know, there's some people that either they rub you the wrong way, you rub them the wrong way, makes sense. Hey, man, you know you're not going to enjoy yourself on the trip. Let your friend know, hey, that's not something I'm not going to be able to make that trip. But again, after having entered into a commitment or covenant of something as serious as marriage, and a few years in, knowing you haven't really applied yourself, knowing full well you have not, and the other party's been forthcoming about issues and wanting to address issues, but you just simply have not been willing to do so. And yet, because of that, you know that's the reason why the issues have escalated. And yet, you're just wanting to change your mind. That would beg the question whether or not you had a made-up mind about the commitment to begin with. Now, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and answer that question with an emphatic yes with no reservations, again, did you ever have a made-up mind to begin with? And will you truly have peace in supposedly changing your mind? Because you have to have a made-up mind in order to change it. Okay, so we're talking about protecting peace. So again, that'd be another one that doesn't necessarily stand up to scrutiny. Okay, next one. It's okay to take a day off. Kind of goes without saying. We understand it can become very, very stressful at work, or maybe you have stress going on at home and at work, and you need an outlet, and you may just need to take a day off, or depending on the scenario, if the place you're working at, or maybe you don't have necessarily too much, I don't know, of a relief at home. Maybe just to alleviate that stress, you maybe need to take some time off and take a vacation or do something just to alleviate yourself of that stress, that pressure. So yeah, common sense approach makes perfect sense. Now let's see. It's okay to speak up. Kind of simple. Agreed. To protect one's peace, to free yourself from disturbance, tranquility, although obviously that could backfire depending on what you're speaking up about and who you're speaking to. I'm sure we all understand that. So that one is a check or half a check. I don't know if it's possible, but depending on the manner in which you're speaking up and what you're speaking up about, you may be able to protect your peace. Possibly. Next one would be, it's okay to be alone. To me, that, yeah, it depends on the person. Absolutely. Some people prefer to be alone. I myself would be considered a loner. It depends. I have a very small circle of people, and it's intentional. I mean, my goodness, I know of so many people, I have so many people that I consider to be, I don't want to call them associates, but just people that, they know me, I know them, but we don't hang out on a regular basis. Not necessarily because I have any issues with them or against them, but I just literally do not go out a lot. I don't see the need. I'm a homebody, if you will. So yeah, it is okay to be alone. As long as you know within yourself you're not actually lonely, and the way that you're living is by choice. It's not because it isn't your choice. So yeah, I believe that one would check out. It's kind of common sense. Next one down says it's okay to let go. Totally agreed. And going back to my last video in terms of letting go simplified, hey, yeah, if you've applied yourself, no one's perfect, but you've demonstrated in a way that cannot be disputed. When a person looks at the facts for what they are, if you're objective and you're fair and with a clear conscience that you applied yourself and that other party just is not willing to put forth that equal effort, again, man, if you're one of these people who you love hard and you're a fighter, not in a negative sense, but you're a fighter, you believe in, love, and you believe in commitment, that other person isn't willing to live up to that, I guess, standard, if you will, despite whether or not they said they were. Like we're looking at here, some people think it's okay to change their mind and okay to cancel commitments. You have people out here who live that way. Even if they know they have not been willing to apply themselves, in their mind, hey, they've rationalized that for whatever their reasons are, they're not willing to honor the commitment, even though they know they have not applied themselves. So that could be for your peace to let a person who thinks that way go. Because if you really think about it, if that's the type of person that really won't apply themselves, I think I would venture to say that it would be more hurtful to you if you're the person who's willing to invest yourself and that person won't invest themselves and won't apply themselves. Just think if they remained in your life with that kind of a mindset. They don't want to leave. They don't want to go. They don't want to leave you. But while they're with you, they won't apply themselves either. They won't invest themselves either. So it's like you're with this person, but are they really with you? So keeping that all in context as far as protecting your peace, if they decide to leave, as I mentioned before, if you're that type of person who prays and that other individual is willing to just walk away, I believe that's considered answered prayer. So yeah, to protect your peace, that type of person, it would be in your best interest to let them leave. Last but not least, it's okay to say no. Totally agreed. Because depending on what it is, obviously, that is presenting itself to you, that could be the most peaceful thing you do by standing up and saying no to whatever you're being offered. I mean, my God, there's so many things that we can think of when it comes to just that whole no piece. Sometimes being able to say no to overtaxing yourself and overextending yourself. Maybe too many people place a demand for your time and for your attention. Not to say that it's a bad thing to offer yourself and make yourself available, especially to friends and family who may need you. But if you know you've depleted yourself and you don't make time for yourself to love yourself and begin to learn to know yourself and then love yourself, I would imagine, saying no to some folks and taking time to yourself is definitely helpful. Now, having said that, some of us need to understand that there's a balance to that principle and that understanding. If you've taken upon yourself an important role Let's just say you're a parent or you're a spouse. Now, it's ironic that many of us will find peace and solace in walking away from as heavy as a commitment as marriage, but you can't divorce your kids. Very, very interesting how many of us would walk away from a spouse, but they don't want to walk away from children. Those children could be considered quote unquote headaches, especially if they're in that adolescent/teenage stage of their life and they demand a lot more hands-on and attention because you're really needing to go hard and make sure you're causing them to live by principles and standards and not violate boundaries. If any of you old enough with teenagers, you understand how that can feel. Okay, so aside from that, as far as having entered the marital, covenant, there's a default expectation that's being set that you're there. Hey, better, worse, richer for poorer, sickness and health. You're going to cherish, love, and honor a person. But if you've depleted yourself because you never took it upon yourself to know yourself, understand who you are as a person, and understand what it means to pretty much love yourself, and you viewing that commitment to that other person as something that drains you, it's very simply a matter of you not having understood what it means to love yourself. Loving someone else is not supposed to drain you. And if what you consider loving another person, if you consider rather putting an effort towards loving someone else to be draining you, especially a spouse, I'd venture to say that you may not be demonstrating that love. Despite how sincere you may think you are, genuine love does not drain you. It does not deplete you. It doesn't. Not genuine love, because love is sourced. Love is a sourced substance. And it comes from God. It comes from the Creator. It literally comes from and emanates from the Creator, guys. Scientific evidence has demonstrated this universe has a creative designer. It's a being. Also, love connects people. Genuine love connects us all. It can make a difference. There are even animals who mate for life. And many times their mate would pass away, and so will that actual other mate in a short period of time. Same thing with human beings. So these are things that are documented, well evidenced. Why am I saying these things? Because some of us, while it's understandable that we have coping mechanisms and we rationalize things and decisions we make, many of us have not taken the time to do the research and look into the documented evidence in order to educate ourselves enough, especially before we take upon ourselves a particular role in life. And so we may end up inadvertently deluding ourselves into thinking that me walking away from this commitment that's taking too much out of me is in my best interest and in the other person's best interest. I would challenge that thought process by saying to you, have you done the research to understand yourself enough to know what it means to love yourself? And is there a fear that opening yourself up to someone else is taking away from you? And if there's a fear that's causing you to feel that way, then quite frankly, you can't call what you think you are giving to that person genuine love, because genuine love doesn't take away from you. Actually, it adds to you, and it's added to the other individual as well. So guys, hey, it's a growth opportunity, learning opportunity. But again, protecting peace. We heard the definition of peace. We heard these statements having been made. Some of them stood up to scrutiny. Some of them did not. All that would beg us all to do is to live, learn, love, educate ourselves, and be mindful not to rationalize decisions that may not have a valid basis when you're willing to open yourself up to information you did not know before. Having said that, guys, God bless you. I love you.